3 years ago, I was looking for my first apartment in Barcelona. And back then, the market was completely different. Now, fast forward to 2025, things have never been so competitive. So, the market in general in Barcelona is very competitive because it attracts a lot of people from all around the world, and we're all competing for a few flats. So, today, I wanted to share some tips on how to look for a flat, some steps that you should take to help you find hopefully your dream flat, and some costs to bear in mind, as well as some neighborhoods, best neighborhoods for yourself and based on your needs. Let's start with step number one: understand the market. So there's a really good website called Numbeo, and then there you can have a lot of information on cost of living charts. And when looking at Numbeo, you can see that there's different kind of, depending on whether you are looking for a rental in the city center, outside of the city center, or how big it is. Like, the prices vary greatly, but in the city center, let's say that a one bedroom flat, you could look at 1,300. Then if you go a bit outside, it could be 1,000. So you really need to understand the market. You need to understand the type of neighborhoods where you want to live, because as everywhere, like, prices differ. And depending on this, you need to look into whether you want to potentially share your flat with someone. Many things to bear in mind. And also, I would really say that if you're serious about renting in Barcelona, come in early as you can. For example, short-term rental. I'm sure everyone is aware about Airbnb. So Airbnbs, they're very popular in Barcelona. And I think, by the way, I mean, there was a news that was out that in 2025, the Spanish government is cracking down on the Airbnb, because again, this contributes to the low supply in flat, the high prices. So this is something that's going to change in the future. You really want to take full advantage of Airbnb, spot a home, to look for short-term flat rental. This can help you. Maybe you don't have to kind of stress yourself out. You, depending on how long you're planning on staying in Barcelona, how much money you have, but it can allow you to try out a neighborhood and see if you like it before you fully commit. Then you also have winter rentals. So maybe if you want to stay at a more extended time, you can look at 11 months. This is something new that came out last year. So usually, like, the Spanish government favors a long-term contract. So we'll go into that a bit more later. But they have now 11-month contract that are available. So you could stay in a place for 11 months. So I give you enough time to kind of work out if you like the neighborhood or not, and then you have room for, to look for something else. And again, you need to really ask yourself, if you're coming from abroad, perhaps you want to find a place that is furnished in the first instance. It's important: furnished versus unfurnished. Do you want to share versus not sharing? So all of this, you need to define your need. And one thing that I would say, big pitfall you shouldn't fall into, is sub-renting. I see a lot of Reddit feed of people who are sub-renting, and this is just not. I don't think it's a good kind of game plan, because paperwork is a big thing in Spain. We're going to talk about this in a minute. But if you're sub-renting, it means that you won't have probably access, you won't have a contract. And if you don't have a contract, that means that then you cannot register for your padron. It's something that you need to do when you're kind of moving in a new municipality. You need to declare your address and your presence. And then when you sign up for your padron, this means that you can have access to the public healthcare. If you have kids, you can send your kids to school, but without that paper, which you cannot get without your contract. Number three, depending on what you can afford, it would dictate where you can live. And then be mindful that, prices are going up, and you need to think about utility bills. Like I said, you can refer to Numbeo, the website that I mentioned, where you can check out some average prices. You need to think about the internet. You need to think also, depending on the location, maybe you're living a bit further out of the city center, but depending on where you live, does it make sense in terms of the cost of transportation? You need to think of your lifestyle. Do you go to the gym? I mean, all of this, the budget, when you're looking for a flat, I think you need to not just think of the flat and the rent itself. Hopefully it's a no-brainer, but you need to think about everything else around it. So break down that cost, and this will allow you to dictate where you can live, honestly, because a lot of people come in and say, hey, I want to live in La Barceloneta. Okay, great. Many people want to live in La Barceloneta. So that means that the prices are high right now. So once you start doing the math, you might realize, okay, maybe there's other places where I want to live in Barcelona that are close to the beach. and are a bit cheaper. And I'll go into this. I'll give you some tips on other places that are not just La Barceloneta or places in the city center when you can have proximity to whatever you need: the beach, the nature, good school, good transport connection, and everything. So we can look into this in a minute. There's step 4. So this one, it's pretty important. It's about your documentation and making sure that you're getting all your paperwork in order. Like I said, because the market is so competitive, you need to be able to think about it that way. You find a flat that you like, you really need to be like texting, WhatsApping these people within 10 minutes. Hopefully you're the first one who sees it, or the second or the third, but you're in the top 3. Once you see the flat from the get-go, you need to be able to say yes or no, because if you're saying maybe, this opportunity might be gone. This is how competitive it is. I'll give you an example. When I was actually looking for a flat a couple of years ago, I got there, literally I have a 5-minute slot to see the flat, and then in the end we ended up overlapping, so there were other people who were seeing the flat at the same time as me. And as I was visiting the flat, I could hear the other people saying that they wanted the flat. So I was like, oh my god, like really, like I really need to be prepared. So that's why you need to have all your digital copies ready, like your NIE. Big thing, you need your NIE, which is like your foreign identification number, your TIA. This needs to be, printed. You need to print your passport. You need a work contract, really important. You need 2 months of pay slips that need to be ready. You need a bank statement. Print this out so that you're ready. And why not just, if you like what you're seeing, I mean, of course there's a contract to sign, but for you to be able to say, hey, got the paperwork, I'm ready to sign within 24 hours. And this would really give you an edge because while other people maybe are gathering the information, you already have everything, you prepare, and this will increase your chance of securing that flat. Number 5. So here, as I mentioned, depending on your needs, there's different sites that might make more sense for you to look at. So there's your bread and butter when it comes to looking for flats in Barcelona and in Spain in general. So hopefully you're familiar with some of them. And if you're not, if I'm introducing you to them today, take a look at Idealista. The UX is not great. It's all over the place, but it's the main place where people find rental in Spain. You have Fotocasa. This is where I used to find rental in Barcelona. Depending on if you want to share, like if you're looking for a room, Buddy is a site where you can find rooms and roommates. You also have Spot a Home, where you can also find long-term rental. By the way, I have a 15% discount code. If you're using CTS, Spain 15, I'll put it down below. You can get a 15% discount. So check them out. So you have all these different sites that you can look into to find rentals. So don't be scared to diversify. Look everywhere because, like I said, low supply, high demand. So you really want to keep an eye out for the flat. Step 6. Now this one is about rental scam. So I really don't want to scare you off, but this is something you need to be aware of. Maybe not a lot, but you have some bad landlords, or not even landlord, because sometimes those flats don't even exist, but you have some bad people who are capitalizing on this. I've heard this many times of people who 2 months upfront via Western Union, Bizum, they arrive, they've been given keys, they go into the flat, and then the keys, they're not the right keys. Or sometimes you see an ad and the price is very low. Like I said, if you've checked, if you've done your research, this should be a red flag. You could be lucky, but really because of that, because the environment is so competitive, prices are usually up. I've heard this many times, like this scheme of like, okay, no, the landlord is abroad, there's no viewing allowed, but the flat is yours. Of course, I mean, this is a massive red flag. Video tour, I don't recommend them. I know some people found flats like that. Don't do it. You need to see it. You need to come. Don't ask for anyone else to do it for you. Do it yourself. I mean, that's my recommendation. And this is not a scam, but this is something that has changed. As of last year, agency fee are no longer allowed, meaning that it's not legal for, if you're using a estate agent and they find the flat, they can't ask you for a fee. Usually they would ask you for a fee once they found the flat, but the fee should be paid by the landlord. So that's something good that you can save money on. So make sure you don't pay for that fee if you ask for it. Now, number 7, I touched on it, but you really want to consider maybe some temporary stay. So you've got the Airbnb of this world, but there's also some great sites, especially if you're a pet lover. There's this site called Trusted House Sitter, and it's essentially for free you can stay. I mean, there's an annual subscription that you need to pay for, but once you've paid for the annual subscription, you can basically found flats everywhere, and everywhere in Barcelona. And then all you will need to do is you can stay in the flat for free in exchange of pet sitting. So I think it's a great option also to stay in nice places in Barcelona at a lower cost. I also have 12% discount if you're using code 12TRUST, TRUST. So you get that discount on the annual subscription. So this is something you really want to think outside of the box. Any site where you can do some sort of like swap, like, okay, someone is staying in your place, you're staying at theirs, you're pet sitting, those are good alternatives to Airbnb for some initial temporary stay and for you to kind of gauge the neighborhood. Then number 8. So this is something I'm excited about because these are about the neighborhood. Like I wanted to give you some heads up on some neighborhood in Barcelona that you can look into, especially if you're familiar with Barcelona. So there's some great neighborhood you can investigate. So I really wanted to break down into different type of neighborhoods. So number 1, I wanted to look at those centric and dynamic locations. So this is for you. You're moving in Barcelona. You've seen Vicky Cristina Barcelona. You've seen all these movies, and you're like, okay, I want to be in the city center in a very buzzy place. So here you want to think of like Gracia. It's very boho chic. So this is a great place for you to be. It's very centric. You're close to everywhere. All those neighborhoods, they're a bit on the pricey end because, of course, they're centric, they're cool, so you got to pay for it. So I recommend Gracia, Gótico. Also, you're right in the center. It's really beautiful. You've got loads of bar. You've got great transportation. You've got El Champra. Also, that's really centrical. It's more on the posh side of thing, but it's also great. You've got some, depending on the neighborhood. In El Champra, it can be more residential. You've got El Born. That's also great. La Barceloneta. So those are more those centric, dynamic location. You can look for flat, especially if, like I said, this is what you're looking for. And then the second type of neighborhood, I kind of broke it down into like more family friendly. So let's say if you're thinking to come to Barcelona with kids, you still want to be in the center. It doesn't mean that because you're with a family, you don't want a place to be cool and centric, but maybe you want it to be more quiet. So there's some very like underrated places like Sands Montjuic. Like for me, I work there. It's great. It kind of reminds me of Gracia, but it's very like kind of like underrated, definitely. But it's nice because it's not so packed. There's some really good school and parks. You have La Sagrada Familia, which I'm sure everyone is familiar with. Those are really good neighborhoods, very family friendly. Because Sant Antoni, there's a really good market. I used to live there. The market in Sant Antoni is great. Also, you also have loads of kids, and it's really great on the Sunday. I loved like walking around in Sant Antoni. It's also centric. You're close to Pueblo Sec. You're close to a lot of nice places. So you have the best of both worlds. You get to be in the center, but it's not so hectic. And then you have places that are a bit more far out, not so centric, but like Poblenou. They're becoming like Poblenou and El Clot. I think they're very hot and coming. Many people live there a bit more. Like I said, Barcelona is small. It's a bit more further out, but yet it gives you also access to the city. I mean, there's nothing that's outrageously far away in Barcelona. Honestly, you can walk around. So those are places that I recommend for like the family-friendly areas. And then in terms of budget friendly, because some of us are struggling out there. So you've got places that are a bit more, I wouldn't say cheap, but cheaper. So you can think at Raval. Many people will tell you it's super dangerous, be careful. Well, I think everywhere can be dangerous. It depends. It's true that, this place might be a bit more sketchy than others, but I wouldn't mind living. It depends where in Raval you live, so it's more edgy. You've got Pueblo Sec, that's not far also, which is like you've got like Parallel is like a main road, and you've got like on one side Raval and then Pueblo Sec. Those are quite close. You've got San Andreu. Also, those are places that are a bit cheaper. So here's more on a budget. So I'm sure you will do research and it will say, hey, I don't recommend those places. It's super dangerous, super cheap. Well, it's what it is. It's for people on the budget. And again, you can find some hidden gems. Another thing that I really wanted to talk about, which I don't see enough, are places on the outskirts. What about people who, maybe you're thinking, I can't afford to live in the city center. Or maybe you're thinking, I don't want to live in the city center, but I still want to experience Barcelona. Well, there's many places on the outskirts that I recommend. So with great access to the center. So I would say Hospitalet, There's different places. Again, be mindful when you read about things. When people say don't live in Hospitalet because again it's a bit sketchy. Well, it depends where in Hospitalet. I mean, there's many places. There's like the old Hospitalet. There's the new Hospitalet. There's different types. So please, like, do your research and keep an open mind. So you've got Hospitalet, which is well connected. Villa de Cans, all those places. They're really well connected to the city center. So, but they're not. I don't think they talked about enough. Shanboy, El Prat is really close to the airport. It also has the beach not far away. You've got the metro. You've got access to local vibes. You've got Moncada Ireshak. This is a bit more further out, but it's also affordable. You've got the Renfe. Although I must say that the train in Barcelona is not the most reliable, but still, this is something you want to bear in mind because prices are cheaper. So depending if you're working from home, I don't know, you're a digital nomad or you're able to stay, like, I think it's a great place to be. You can work from there and then go to the city center whenever you want. But you don't have to pay for the crazy prices. So you've got those places. Then you've got, if you want the beach, like I talked about it earlier, there's not only La Barceloneta. You've got Badalona. Badalona, I think, is also up and coming. It's very close to Barcelona. You've got, it's more on the Maresma side. So anything that's Maresma, Badalona, Montcat, Premia, all those places, they are on the train. You jump on the train from Sants, from Plaza Catalunya, from Arc de Triomphe. All of these places, they're very access to the city center. And they're well connected, and you've got the beach, and you've got the local vibe, and you're not far away. They're cheaper, so why not? Why not? I think keep an open mind. Then, if you're more into nature, I think Esplugas can be great. Esplugas is very close to huge kind of for hikers. If you're into hiking or cycling or walking, you've got a really nice. You've got Coterora. That's a really well-known park where you can spend weekends, evening. Plugas is great. You've got Sant Cugat. This is a bit more expensive, but again, surrounded by nature. I've only heard positive things about Sant Cugat. Many people who live there. Great for families. Great schools. So yeah, many places. I could go on and on. The list could go. Gava, Castelldefels. I think this is an expat favorite. Really good school. You've got international school. You've got British, you've got Bon Soleil for the French. Anyway, there's many. So check out cities, places on the outskirts. This is my recommendation. Then I would say number 9, join expat group. You can join this Facebook group, Barcelona Expat. There's some WhatsApp rental group. Just check them out on Facebook. I mean, I know everyone says Facebook is dead, but honestly, like those Facebook group, I've never seen people so active, and they will share tips and tricks. And so don't hesitate to sign up. I think it's a great place to find some hidden gems. Then number 10, this is also key, understanding your lease term. So I talked about it earlier, but you've got lease term. So you have like the long one, like 5 years, and then you have newly introduced 11-month lease term. So what you need to know is that when you are signing on a contract, you usually have to pay for 1 to 2 months deposit. And even if so this is something that you have to pay, yes or yes. And then when it comes to terminating contract, usually the first 6 months of the contract, they're mandatory. So you've got to stay. You really need to have a strong reason for not staying. So they're mandatory. And after that, you can break the contract, and then the contract can be renewed. So for 5 years, at the end of the year, or so for the longer type of contract, or you've got the shorter for 11 months, where depending on your landlord, you might be able to carry out for another 11 months or look for something else. And read the small print, make sure you clarify the repairs, the penalty, who's reliable for what, and also when it comes to your deposit, make sure that your deposit is on hold in a safe. It's called incasso, so it's a place where the deposit, where the landlord should be the deposit. So make sure that they're putting it there so your deposit is safe and you're getting it back, because I've heard many stories of people never recovering their deposit. So be mindful, read the small print, and you're also allowed to ask for your contract to be sent to you in English, not just in Spanish. So if you're not familiar with Spanish yet, get it in English so that you make sure you've got everything under cover. Now, step 11, it's about being mindful of the upfront cost that comes with renting a flat in Barcelona. You might be asked for a deposit, first month up front, you've got the utility bills. So there's a few things to bear in mind, because that can make the price fluctuate. Keep this in mind when it comes to upfront cost. Last but not least, step 12, act fast. I've mentioned this at the beginning, but I cannot reinforce how important it is for you to be ready to scroll those apps and jump on the first ad that you find. Like I said, flat disappears in like 24 to 48 hours. I mean, it's insane. It's super fast. You need to be very much, when you're on a mission to find the flat, you need to, message as many people as you can, check out as many flats as you can, and be ready. Like usually I used to have a checklist. So my checklist was like, okay, I need to make sure I check out the flat during daytime. Light is so important. You have here, they call it like caves, cuevas. You have so many flats where you have no daylight because of the way. I mean, it looks super great when you see on TV and stuff, like those like small narrow streets. But sometimes, I mean, those flats, they're so close to one another that they have, especially in the city in Elborn, Raval also, like you really don't have access, you don't have daylight, so that's not the best. So visit it during the day, make sure there's natural light coming in. Noise, be careful, it can be very noisy. Some of those old flats don't have double glazing, can be a no-no. Especially I remember in a flat I lived in public, I just could not sleep for a full month because of, well, no double glazing. So double check that. Or maybe it's no, I was also close to very noisy restaurants, so check out the neighborhood. Then heating also, it gets cold in Barcelona, like it's not always hot. So for example, now, I mean, in my place, like if I hadn't had the heating on, like for, let's say, November, December, January, I would have, maybe not froze to death, but it's cold. So make sure they have the heater. Same applies to AC. It gets really hot, and Barcelona is very humid. So the humidity, you want to get the AC, hopefully, if you don't mind, well, opening windows, but if not, that's important. Elevator, this is also key. Many of those flats don't have one. So check if this is important for you and think about it. Like the flat might look good. They might have this really nice, they call it attico, like the flats on top that have a really nice terrace. But then think of the day-to-day grind of going up with the shopping, I mean, you can pay for someone to go up, I think. But still, think of the day-to-day. If you have maybe you have a bicycle that you need to bring up, is this something you want to do? Check all of these things. Check something like the silliest thing, but I also was in the block of flat with I was just above a Airbnb rental. It was so noisy, I couldn't sleep. So bear this in mind, because you can have this really beautiful flat, and those things, if you haven't checked those things, it can make your life a nightmare. So have your checklist in mind and be ready. When you go fast, you act fast, but also you're mindful, and you don't just act out of emotion, but you also have your kind of non-negotiable. So definitely bear that in mind. So that's it for me. Hopefully that provided you a bit of an introduction into flat hunting in Barcelona one-on-one. You understood that it's a competitive market. That's what it is right now, that you need to be ready to act fast. You need to be aware that scams exist, so be mindful. And as always, comment below with your flat hunting experience, or if you have any other questions. And check out my links. You can have access to some discount to some of the websites that I mentioned, because like every little helps. Because right now you want to be on saving mode, and then you want to save that money to put it into your rent. Okay, thank you.